Hello fellow coders, hope you all are doing great. In this video we will be revolving around the variables and data types. Now this video is going to be super useful for other languages as well, so make sure that you are watching this video till the end. Okay, so let's get started. First, let's talk about variables. Variables are the names that you give to certain computer memory locations which are used to store values in a computer program. As the name suggests, variables are something that could be easily changed according to our needs. For example, when we are making real-life programs, we usually require some space to store all the data. For example, if you are making a game that cannot be played by someone who is under 18, in those cases, you have to take an input from the user, then store it in a variable, and after storing it, you can further apply the logic to it. Well, first, we need to learn how we can store values in a variable. Now, let's take a quick example. Let's say you want to store a number or the age of user. Say age. Now, here we have age that is written on the left hand side, and then we are going to use equals to assign, and on the right hand side we are going to assign the value to this variable. For example, I'm going to assign it to let's say 20. Okay, so 20 is assigned to the variable here. Now we can easily print this thing if we want to. So as you can see, it is printing the same thing in the output that was expected. And I just want to add another thing over here. We don't use double or single inverted commas when we are using variables. Like for example, in this statement we are using variable age. So in this case we are not using double or single inverted commas. Now what happens if you want to change it? For example, if you are writing a code in which there is a condition in which you are supposed to add some certain amount of sum to the user's age. So in that case, we just have to rewrite the statement with the new value. For example, I'm going to write here age is equal to 15. And then let's try to print it again. Okay, I'm just going to remove these double quotes because with the help of double quotes we cannot really print variables. So I'm going to remove them. Okay, let's try to run this code. Now there you go. Now as you could see, it is printing two different values. For the first print statement, it is showing me a 20 value, and for the second one, it is showing me a 15 one. Because for this print statement, the age was assigned as 20, and for this one it is assigned as 15. So both of them are quite different. After assigning the age as 15 over here, after this, whenever I'm going to call age and use it in any type of statement whatsoever, it is going to use the 15 as its basic value. Now it's not going to print 20 in any other cases. If we are doing it after the declaration of this variable in this state. Now this was all about assigning values to a variable. Now let's talk about data types. In this variable you can store different types of data. It could either be a string, floating point, integer, or data structure. Well, we're not going to talk about data structures for now because they are kind of complex and we don't want to learn complex things because we are at the beginning of the tutorial. So first let's take an example of a string. As we have assigned the variable over here with the value 15, now I'm going to assign it to something else. Let's say user. Now you might be wondering why I am using double quotes. Now double quotes are the thing that would differentiate between the variables and the strings and other type of data. Anything that is placed under closed double quotes or single quotes is known as string. So this thing is string basically. Now I'm going to print this thing over here. Okay, now as you could see, it is printing user instead of printing 15 because we have assigned this string in place of 15. You can just reassign different type of values whenever you want to. But if you want to store an integer again, let's say 5. Okay, I'm just taking a random example, please don't judge me. Now that's how you can assign different values to a single variable again and again. That is the main reason why it is known as variable. Now this type of assignment is known as dynamic programming, where we could change the data that is stored in a variable at different points in a single program. Python is a dynamic programming language. In this you can change data that is assigned to any type of variable in any point in your code. You can just type in anything that can, like literally anything. I'm going to show you what you can do. What you can do is you can just type anything randomly and then assign any value to it. Let's say I'm going to assign it 10, and when you want to print it, you can actually print. Just going to copy and paste it over here. So yeah, as you can see, it is working, but I don't think there is any need of assigning variables with such a complex name. Now, coming to the second part of this video, there are a few rules and conventions that you need to follow when you're defining a variable. Let's talk about them, and I would be explaining each and every rule with an example. Rule number 1, you cannot start a variable name with an integer. For example, if you want to assign a variable, let's say age, you cannot start it with any type of integer value. Let's say if you are going to write here 9 age or let's say 6 age, you cannot do it. It is practically impossible. Let's try this out. As you can see, it is showing me an error. It's a syntax error because the syntax is incorrect. We cannot define a variable with a number or integer in front of it. Now let's talk about the second rule. You have to use either underscore or any other letter for the first letter of the variable. Now you cannot use anything other than that. You cannot use special symbols, you cannot use integers, and you cannot use blank spaces. Well, you can technically use blank spaces, but they would not be considered as anything. Let me just show you. Yeah, it's just going to show you an indent error because indentation is really a big thing in Python. I will explain you what is indentation in my future videos. Now either you could use underscore in front of your variable, it is still going to run. Well, I have not printed this variable, so yeah, it is working. You can just put anything over here. You can just put here humanoid. You can do anything. I'm sorry, humanoid. You can just say anything, humanoid, alien, literally throw in any type of thing that you consider it to be useful. Python really does not discriminate any type of variable from its names. Now rule number 3, you cannot use special or wildcard characters while naming the variable. For example, if you want to use $age or like exclamatory mark, then dollar and then age, you cannot do it. It is impossible. It is not even going into the second line because there is no variable in this whole file assigned with this name. It's not even going into the second line. It's just showing me the first line and it's saying that the syntax is invalid. Now rule number 4. This is not really a rule, but it is a kind of convention. Python is a case-sensitive programming. For example, if you have defined two different with the difference in their sensitivity, let's say in the first one I'm going to write, let's say 90 inverted commas. I will explain you why I am using inverted commas even though I have written 90. I would explain you everything in future. You just have to follow all of my videos. You will understand each and everything. Yeah, it is going to use this statement instead of this one because Python is a case-sensitive language. Now let's talk about conventions, the things that you should follow, but there is no hard and fast rule to follow them, but you should follow them in order to maintain the tidiness of the code. If you want to store a name of the user, let's say if you want to store first name is equal to. Now I have taken this example because I want to specify something over here. For example, if you want to use more than one words in a single variable. In this case, I'm using first and name. These two things are two different words that I'm using in a single variable. Now in order to write them, you should separate them with an underscore. Now I'm going to run it just in order to show you that it is working. Well, yes, it is supposed to work. I'm just going to show you another example. And then you are typing in some random integers. and then your random letters, and then you're defining it, it is not going to throw you an error. Let me just print it as well, just in order to show you that it is actually working. I'm not going to type that whole thing up again. Just going to paste it here. There you go. And even you can do it in this way. You don't necessarily have to include any alphabets. There you go. Now of course you are not going to define any variables with this type of name, because this is going to be super uncomfortable when you're going to open your code after a few days. You're just going to be baffled, and you would just spend like an hour or so trying to figure out what you have written. Now you can just, again, I'm just going to show you another example just to clarify everything. You can just type in there anything, and as long as you want. It just does not depends on the length of the variable as well. You can just include as many underscores as you want to. Just, it doesn't make any sense. I'm just sharing you something that you could do in Python if you want to. If you're going to run it, it is just going to show you the same thing again. Now this type of writing that we have used, that using underscore to separate different type of words in a variable, is known as snake case writing for Python. It is best for Python. I'm not saying it is best for other languages as well, because all the languages have different type of syntaxes and different type of builds, how they are configured and all that stuff. That's it for now, guys. Hope you all find this video helpful. Please leave a like below and share this video with your friends, and I'll see you very soon. Later.